Dating is getting too expensive. Why more men are swiping right on AI? Swiping right is, I haven't used Tinder for ages, is agreeing, right? That's yes. Okay. So lots of more men are using artificial intelligence companion apps. We need to work out a name for this. AI girlfriends, basically. And there's been a study. This is a study by an AI girlfriend app. So we need to be, I'm pretty sure it is Joy, J-O-I. It's of 1,000 of their users. So this is obviously a very self-selected study because these are people who are already using it. But they've basically asked these men, why are you using AI girlfriends? Which I think is a very interesting insight. And specifically, why are you not dating in real life? So I think it's interesting to see what the insights are. 43% of men today say dating feels financially challenging, with nearly half admitting they've skipped a date because they couldn't afford it. 43%, again, have felt judged for not spending enough, while most men say they feel anxious about the cost of a date before it even begins. 1 in 3 men said they would date an AI if they had to cut costs, and the same number estimate it would save them hundreds of dollars each month. More than half believe AI relationships are more financially practical than real ones. Woo! 53% see AI as a lifeline for those who can't afford to date, and half of men surveyed believe the future of dating could be mostly artificial. Remember, the sample here is biased. These are people who are using an AI app, so an AI girlfriend app. So obviously they're okay with using an AI dating app. That's already been agreed upon. I think what's more interesting here is the reason why they're using it. And a lot of it seems to be cost. It's too expensive to go on a date. I was talking to a guy at my gym the other day after boxing, and he was about to go on a date with his girlfriend, an existing girlfriend. It wasn't like, so he didn't even have to impress her that much. Sorry, that sounds terrible, but he said, yeah, we're going to go out and we'll have some food, we'll have some drinks, we'll go and do something like that. And he was expecting to spend about £200, and that was just half the course. So it's what's 250, 300 US dollars ish, 280 or so. And that's just what he had to do every week. It would just cost him about £200 to go on this date every single week. I don't know if they had particularly expensive tastes. I recommended some free options, or cheaper options at least, but that's the norm. A pint, this is water, obviously, because it is 10:30 a.m, is now, I had one in the City of London the other day that was £9.50. So they're pushing on that £10, or what's that, nearly $15 for a pint of beer. So you have a meal, you have a couple of drinks, and you're already looking at 100 quid, and then you go and do an activity, boom, you're at 200. And that is a big chunk of people's income. So I think dating is becoming extremely expensive. Everything's becoming more expensive, but that seems to be pushing, at least in this sample size of 1,000 Gen Z and millennial men, it seems to be pushing people towards AI companionship because it is cheaper. Which is, I'm not going to make judgment calls on this. I think this is a very, I don't want to say interesting because that's the least interesting thing I can say. I think this is something we need to keep an eye on. Almost 1 in 5 have flirted with AI. I'm sure it's probably higher than that. 71% have saying they haven't. I think the big takeaway here is it's just too expensive to date, and AI is becoming an alternative for them. So 1 in 3 say an AI could save them hundreds a month. Yep. 16% of them said it could save them thousands a month. So some people are spending thousands on this apparently. When choosing between staying single and dating an AI, nearly 1 in 3 choose to date an AI. Okay. Oh, so that's interesting. So they're not considering dating an AI as being single. Yeah. Okay. This is all going to get very interesting. I'll put it that way over the next few years. And a lot of things need to be worked out about how this fits into society. And Elon Musk is pushing this as well by allowing his chatbots to be more not safe for work, for allowing them to be more affectionate, and allowing even softcore pornographic content to be generated using Grok Imagine. So it's going to get wild, and apparently cost is a factor in this, which seems wild to me, but hey, I'm not going to judge. Do you think the cost of dates is a mask for the lack of emotional intelligence communication? It's the main driver for increased AI companionship? Yeah, potentially. I know COVID did a number on a bunch of people because they weren't able to socialize. And for some people that happened during very formative years when normally you'd be out meeting people, drinking, partying, etc. And suddenly instead they were stuck inside for 2 or 3 years. that's going to have a huge impact on a developing brain, and somebody who's transitioning from being a teenager to becoming an adult. If suddenly you have 2 or 3 years where it's like, nope, you're not going out, you're not allowed to go near people, it's hard for that not to have an impact. So I'm sure there's a sociological impact of that as well. I don't know enough about that subject to comment on it, but very much potentially. And then AI companionship comes up as a salve, basically. It's a way to fix loneliness. It's a way to not have to interact with people. And it's right there on your telephone. It is free or very cheap. So I can see the appeal of it. I can see why people go towards it. It's very understandable. AI dating is not going to help with the aging population and population decline. No, it is not. This is some criticism that's been thrown at Elon Musk, because he's always complaining about, we need people to be having more babies. We need more babies. And he's talking about the population decline and aging population, and we need healthy young adults. But at the same time, he's released the most widely available, not safe for work AI avatar and a soft porn generator on the market into basically a basic public consumer application. So you have to wonder where his loyalties lie in that particular case. Yeah, I think that humans are inherently lazy, and we will always go towards whatever is the lowest energy expenditure way to achieve something. So going out on dates, yes, it's expensive, but it's also hard. You need to go and meet people, and you're not necessarily going to get along, and sometimes you're going to feel rejected. Sometimes you're going to have a terrible time, and you're going to feel awful about yourself, and that's hard. That's a lot of friction. That's a lot of work. And if something else comes along and it's a lot easier and cheaper, and you don't get any pushback, and you don't have to go through all the complications, you can see why that's appealing to people. So I understand it. And because it is so understandable, I think that's why this needs to be discussed. And it's going to be a huge topic over the next few years. I'd particularly like to see how it's affecting teenagers, but there are no studies that I can find. All of the studies seem to be 18 and above, and I think that's because, especially when it's an AI companionship company like this study that I just talked about, they don't want to uncover the fact that there are 13-year-olds, there are 10-year-olds using this stuff. They just don't want to go anywhere near that, which means there's a lack of studies and a lack of data. If anyone can find one, I'd love to see it. I think it's going to be even more amongst young populations. There was a study, it was from Reuters. It came out about a month ago, and it talked about the fact that 16% of Americans overall have used AI for companionship. So not necessarily girlfriend or boyfriend, but for chatting. And that could be chatting about their day, talking through their emotions, etc. Companionship, so that's very broad, 16%, which is a lot. Remember, this is a technology that we didn't really have 2 years ago, so 16% is a lot. And then if you looked at the younger adults, so between 18 and 29, that percentage rose to 25%. They did not have the under 18 data, but I imagine under 18 it is higher, north of 25%. If it was 30-40%, I would not be surprised, but we just don't have the data. But what we'll probably see over the next few years is that 18 to 29 will start to increase, because all of those younger people will start to come through into that age bracket. And again, this is a 2.5-year-old technology in its current form, in its public, openly and freely available form. So the fact that potentially 25% of people in the US are using it for companionship, and maybe even more in the younger generations, that requires discussion. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I want to put that out there. I think there's going to be good and there's going to be bad uses of it. And we saw a bit of this when 4.0 got deprecated. So GPT 4.0 was the previous ChatGPT before GPT-5 came out. And it turned out a lot of people really liked 4.0. I had several people in my comments telling me that they didn't just like it, but they were in love with 4.0. I had 4 people tell me that. And it wasn't like a joke. It's just, I'm in love with 4.0. It understands me in a way that, he or she understands me in a way that no one else does. Which, again, I don't want to devalue that. I think if somebody feels that way, they feel that way. And we need to explore that. But no, it's not going to help with aging population and population decline for sure.